Imagine walking into a quiet visitor center at a beautiful American cemetery in the Netherlands. You expect to learn about the brave soldiers buried there. Instead, two important displays have vanished without a word. This is the story of the Black Liberators of Margareten. It is a tale of courage, sacrifice, and a quiet removal that shocked many people around the world. The Netherlands American Cemetery in Margareten holds the graves of over 8,000 American soldiers from the Second World War. Among them rest 172 black soldiers. These men helped free the Netherlands from Nazi occupation in 1945. Dutch families still adopt every single grave. They place flowers and keep the memory alive every year. In 2024, two special panels were added to the Visitors Center. One explained how 1 million black Americans served in a segregated army. They fought the Nazis abroad while facing racism at home. The panel used the words "fighting" on two fronts. It included a quote from First Lieutenant Jefferson Wiggins. He was a young black soldier who worked as a gravedigger at Margareten. He spoke about the trauma his unit faced. The second panel told the story of Technician 4th Class George Henry Pruitt. He was 23 years old and from New Jersey. Pruitt died in June 1945, a month after the war ended. He drowned while trying to save a fellow soldier from a river in Germany. He was laying telephone lines during the reconstruction effort. These panels were placed there after requests from historians, the Black Liberators Foundation, and families. They wanted visitors to know the full story. Black soldiers made up a large part of the graves registration units. They dug most of the graves at Margareten during the harsh winter of 1944 and 1945. Then, in spring 2025, the panels disappeared. No announcement was made at first. Visitors noticed they were gone. The American Battle Monuments Commission later said one panel was rotated out. The other was retired because it did not fit the commemorative mission. Internal emails later revealed more. The timing came shortly after new executive orders in the United States ended diversity programs across government agencies. Officials at the commission discussed removing the panels to avoid any unwanted attention from Washington. One email said the panel about segregation never should have been there in the first place. The removal caused immediate anger in the Netherlands. Local politicians wrote letters demanding the panel's return. Families of the soldiers felt their loved ones had been dishonored. Dutch people who care for the graves every day filled the visitors' book with objections. They could not understand why stories of sacrifice were taken away. Jefferson Wiggins survived the war and lived until 2013. His widow, Janice Wiggins, learned about the removal from Dutch filmmakers. She said her husband would have been disappointed but not shocked. He knew the world he lived in. George Pruitt's story was also removed from display. His bravery in saving another man cost him his life. Now visitors could no longer read about him in the center. The Black Liberators Foundation in the Netherlands works hard to keep these stories alive. They research the soldiers and share their history. Many of these men came from segregated units. They faced discrimination, yet still served with honor. The cemetery is on land loaned forever to the United States. The American Battle Monuments Commission looks after it. The Visitors Center opened in 2023. The panels had only been there for about a year before they were taken down. This quiet removal raised big questions. Why hide the contributions of soldiers who helped win the war? Why remove stories that show the full picture of American service in Europe? As we explore this story together, think about what it means to honor all heroes equally. The Black Liberators fought for freedom. Many gave their lives. Their graves still stand in Margareten today. But for a time, their stories were hidden from new visitors. In the next part, we will look deeper at who these Black Liberators were. We will meet some of the men and learn about their daily lives during the war. Stay with me as we uncover more of this important chapter in history. Let us take a closer look at the men behind these stories. The Black Liberators came from all across the United States. They joined the army, even though the military was strictly segregated at the time. Black units often received the hardest and least glamorous jobs. Many served in quartermaster and grave registration companies. These soldiers handled the difficult task of recovering bodies from the battlefield. They transported them to Margareten and dug the graves. The work was physically demanding and emotionally draining. They worked through the bitter cold of the 1944 to 1945 winter. Jefferson Wiggins was just 19 years old when he arrived in Europe. He served with the Black Graves Registration Unit. Later, he described how traumatized his colleagues felt. They were burying their own fallen comrades while knowing they would return to a segregated America. Wiggins went on to become a first lieutenant. He lived a long life and passed away in 2013. Another soldier featured was George Henry Pruitt. He worked as a telephone engineer in the 43rd Signal Construction Battalion. On that fateful day in June 1945, he tried to rescue a friend who had fallen into a river near Bremen. Pruitt himself drowned in the attempt. He was only 23. His body was brought to Margraten for burial. There were 172 black soldiers buried at Margraten in total. Some served in combat units such as the 784th Tank Battalion. Others worked in construction and logistics. All of them played a vital role in the final push to liberate the Netherlands. Dutch people remember these soldiers fondly. Local families have adopted the graves for generations. They visit regularly, clean the headstones, and lay flowers. This adoption program is unique and shows deep gratitude for the American sacrifice. When the panels were removed, many Dutch residents felt it was an insult to these adopted heroes. They wrote to the American authorities asking for the displays to be restored. Politicians in Limburg province also spoke out. They wanted permanent recognition for the Black Liberators. The foundation called Black Liberators in the Netherlands continues its research. They collect stories, photographs, and documents. Their work helps keep the memory alive even when official displays change. Think for a moment about the courage it took for these young men to serve. They left their homes knowing they would face racism both in the army and back home, yet they fought bravely against a common enemy. The contribution helped bring peace to Europe. In the Visitor Center, new panels were added in January 2026. One panel now mentions the role of black soldiers in building the cemetery, talks about the construction work, but does not mention segregation or the phrase fighting on two fronts. Historians describe the change as a polished or whitewashed version of the original story. A digital panel shows 10 individual soldiers. 2 of them are African American. This is seen as a small step forward by some. The Black Liberators Foundation called it a step in the right direction. It continued to push for fuller recognition. The debate continues today. Many people believe all soldiers deserve equal honor. Others feel the full historical context should be shown. The graves themselves remain unchanged. The headstones stand in neat rows on the rolling hills near the Belgian and German borders. As you watch this, consider how history is remembered. Small changes in displays can affect what future generations learn. The Black Liberators deserve to be part of that story. We will continue in the next part with more details about the removal process and the reactions that followed. Keep watching to hear the full picture. The removal of the panels happened quietly in the spring of 2025. At first, the American Battle Monuments Commission said it was part of normal rotation. Later, through Freedom of Information requests, internal emails came to light. These emails showed that officials wanted to avoid any criticism from the new administration in Washington. One senior member wrote that the panel about segregation should go. He added that it never should have been there. Another suggested storing the panels until a possible change in government in 2029. The decision followed executive orders that ended diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The commission carried out an internal review of its displays. The panel with Jefferson Wiggins's quote was retired permanently. The Pruitt panel was taken off display, though it was described as still in rotation at the time. News of the removal spread in November 2025. Dutch newspapers reported the story. Relatives of the soldiers expressed outrage. They felt it dishonored the memory of men who had given everything. The United States ambassador to the Netherlands met with the local mayor. The ambassador said the displays were not meant to push any agenda that criticized America. He defended the decision as part of normal maintenance. In the Netherlands, the reaction was strong. A Dutch television program briefly put the old panels back up for a short time. They were removed again shortly afterwards under police supervision. The panels were then given to the Black Liberators Foundation. Local people continued to visit the cemetery, and he left messages in the guest book protesting the removal. They felt the stories of these soldiers should remain visible for everyone to see. The new panels unveiled in January 2026 try to address some of the concerns. One focuses on the construction of the cemetery and mentions African American gravediggers. It avoids any reference to segregation. A historian from the NIOD Institute called the new version whitewashed. Despite the changes, the foundation keeps working. They plan educational programs and hope one day for a permanent monument in the region. Some local authorities have shown support for such a memorial. The cemetery remains a place of deep respect. Over 8,000 graves are tended with care by Dutch families. The Wall of the Missing lists another 1,700 names. Among all these are the stories of the Black liberators. Jefferson Wiggins's words about fighting on two fronts captured a painful truth. Black soldiers battled fascism overseas and racism at home. Removing that context changed what visitors could learn. George Pruitt's act of bravery in saving another life is still honored at his grave. His headstone stands among the others. Visitors can still see it if they know where to look. This story reminds us that history is not always straightforward. Decisions about what to display can shape how we remember the past. The soldiers themselves did not choose the circumstances they faced. They served with courage regardless. In the next part, we will hear more about the lasting impact on families and the ongoing efforts to preserve these stories. Stay tuned for the final sections of this important account. Families of the Black liberators reacted with sadness and frustration when they heard the panels had gone. Janice Wiggins spoke publicly about her late husband. She said he would have expected such things, yet it still hurts to see his words removed. Other relatives felt the same. They had worked hard to get the panels installed in the first place. The displays gave them a sense that their fathers and grandfathers were finally being recognized in an official American space. The Black Liberators Foundation received many messages of support from around the world. People wanted to know more about these overlooked heroes. The foundation continues to share individual stories through its website and educational materials. One surviving soldier, Corporal James W. Baldwin, is now 95 years old. He served in the 784th Tank Battalion. He helped liberate Dutch cities in 1945. He has spoken about the pride he feels in that service. Baldwin and other veterans remind us that these men were young when they fought. They faced danger every day. After the war, many returned to a country that still treated them as second-class citizens. The adoption of graves by Dutch families provides a beautiful contrast. These local people do not see race when they tend a grave. They see an American who helped free their country. They honor every soldier equally. The controversy has led to more public discussion. Newspapers, historians, and politicians have all weighed in. Some call for a permanent memorial outside the cemetery grounds. Others want the original panels restored inside the visitor center. The American Battle Monuments Commission has stated that the new panels better fit the commemorative purpose. They focus on service and sacrifice without additional context about domestic issues. Critics argue that ignoring segregation erases an important part of the soldiers' experience. The men themselves spoke about it. Their words deserve to be heard. As of August 2026, the situation remains largely the same. The new panels are in place. The foundation keeps advocating for fuller recognition. The graves continue to receive loving care from the Dutch community. This episode shows how memory can be contested. What one group sees as essential context, another may view as outside the mission. The soldiers buried at Margraten did not ask for any of this debate. They simply did their duty. In our final part, we will wrap up the story and reflect on what it all means today. We will also hear your thoughts on how best to remember these heroes. We have traveled through the story of the Black liberators at Margraten. From their service in a segregated army to the quiet removal of their displays and the new panels that followed, their courage helped free the Netherlands. Their graves still stand as a lasting tribute. The 172 black soldiers buried there represent thousands more who served. They faced discrimination yet answered the call to fight tyranny. Their story is part of the larger American experience in the Second World War. The panel's controversy brought attention to how history is presented. It sparked conversations in the Netherlands and beyond. Many people believe every soldier's full story should be told. Today, the cemetery remains a place of peace and reflection. Visitors from all over the world come to pay respects. The Dutch adoption program ensures no grave is forgotten. The Black Liberators Foundation continues its important work. Through research and education, they keep these men's legacies alive. Plans for further recognition are ongoing. What happened at Margraten reminds us that remembering the past requires care and honesty. The soldiers gave their all. Honoring them means acknowledging both their battlefield bravery and the challenges they overcame at home. Thank you for watching this video on the WW2 Hero Cypher channel. If you found this story moving, please like and subscribe for more untold chapters from the Second World War. Now, I would like to hear your opinions in the comments below. Do you think the original panel should be restored to the Visitor Center? Should there be a permanent monument dedicated to the Black liberators in the Netherlands? How important is it to include the full historical context when remembering soldiers from segregated units? Share your thoughts and let us discuss this together.